Ted McLyman, tedmclyman.com.
Excellent. Perfect, Ted. Well, hey, give me a kind of cloud level flyover about what it is you do in your professional life, and then we'll get into your personal life story.
Yeah, perfect. Right
There
now hey, there's Clifford. How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm good.
Hey,
I'm
good.
finishing up with another one. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Okay, we'll get it rolling.
Yep.
Ted McLyman. I'm on my fourth, maybe fifth career, depending on who you talk to and what my wife is really upset about what I'm doing today. Started way back in the last century. Took a commission out of for the United States Marine Corps out of Colgate University, which is cold and miserable, and there was no sunshine the entire time I went to school. They recruit you in the summer, but you live there in the winter. But to make a long story short, 21 years in the Marine Corps. Started as a lieutenant colonel. During that period of time, I worked with people and money a lot by default because I found money was the common denominator that caused most of my Marines and myself to get into trouble. My first duty station was Hawaii, where I got introduced to primary colors, screen sunglasses, and how to buy stuff you don't need, will never use, looks great in Hawaii, but no place else in the world. Thought I was going to get out of the Marine Corps. They wouldn't let me. I was an indentured servant, took a set of orders to Japan and loved it. We lived on the economy with my new wife. And there I learned that Marines still do stupid stuff with money, but so did the Japanese. And the first thing that got my attention was around Christmas when a non-Christian country had Santa Claus and American stuff all over the place and celebrating Christmas with KFC as their traditional meal. Came back, did a lot of other normal Marine Corps things, whatever that means, but I did a tour at the Naval Academy teaching economics, and there I worked with some really bright young people that were acing it in the classroom and failing in life with money. That got our attention. But unfortunately, the solution we took was like we do everything else in the United States. It was reactive, not proactive. We fixed it after the fact, and we did it with tech. We did it with instructions. We did it with stuff that made you feel very uncomfortable because you couldn't do it in real life. Long story short, did overseas a couple times, came back, got my second master's degree, ended up as an aide to the Secretary of the Navy for financial management, started working with the political class, and they don't know a thing about money. Everything you think, everything you see on TV is worse than you ever could imagine. Retired, went into financial planning, thought that's what I wanted to do, got very disenchanted with the industry, and I was good at what I did. I was one of the top sales guys, and the key word there is sales guy. I was not a financial advisor. My job was to sell stuff, and I was good at it. But what really got me disenchanted was we were pushing out products that nobody understood, to include us, to clients who trusted us for some reason. I'm not sure why. And all I was a glorified sales guy. After a couple of years, I learned that my job was to manage behavior, not money. And that really got my attention. Quit all of that stuff and opened my own firm, Apex Behavioral Financial Group, and started working from a behavioral perspective. Now, you got to understand, as a Marine officer, my job was to understand, improve, and modify behavior. That's basically what we do in the Marine Corps. And it was all mission specific, teaching young men and women to become Marines, impact their behavior, and do amazing things. I didn't understand why we didn't do that with money. I mean, honestly, and I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete all my life. I started in football, track, became an endurance athlete, marathons, triathlete, was an age group world-class triathlete for a number of times. And that's a ridiculous activity, incidentally. Not as nuts as what Cliff does, but almost. Wrote my first book for my clients to make them understand that they have to understand behavior, not money. That is morphed into 5 books. My latest book, Confessions of a Reformed Financial Advisor. Yep, it's mostly BS. And I think that tells you where I'm coming from and what I'm doing right now. As a side gig, we started another company called Dream Smart Behavioral Solutions, where we work on the behavioral piece. And what makes us so unique, and this is my role, we're the only company I know of, when we talk about behavior, we include money as a component. because in modern life, you can't exist without money. But in our culture, we don't talk about it. We talk it from the technical side, not the behavioral side. And I'm on a mission to change the world. We need to talk about behavior, not money, because how you behave with money is more important than what you know.
I I want to take a shot in the dark and do the old "Do you know this guy?" because you just listed off something, and I think we might have a common mutual friend because my guy's very social. Do you? He's class of 1963 from the Naval Academy, and I believe he worked with the Navy for at the Naval Academy for a while because he recruited me, and I almost joined the Naval Academy. He was my assistant wrestling coach in high school. His name was Ron Tevin. Does that name ring a bell at all?
No, I've heard the name. I do not know him.
So wow, okay, so yeah, he's very he ended up being a pilot, I think, for American Airlines and things like that.
Yeah.
Big in jiu-jitsu and all kinds of stuff. So I was shot in the dark. We had a common connection there.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's a footnote from my whole career. I'm here today because digital cameras had not really come into the full use at that time, and there's no record of some of the things we did in my younger life.
So you may have hung out with Ron once or twice, but there's no
There you go.
there's no footprint to prove it.
I have stories.
Well, it's interesting, and the reason, I mean, you already reminded me of Ron before, and we had actually had the head coach of the wrestling team on here before for an episode at the beginning of the month, and but your mentality is the same, and something about the way Ron coached us wasn't in typical movie fashion of how you coach people. He taught us about visualization. He taught us about pressure points. He taught us about putting people into submission without actually hurting them. And it was those different ways of leading with empathy that tie into and is why we have this show. So I wanted to really tie this all together, that your pedigree and lineage and your perspective is a precipice to why Clifford and I started this show.
Yeah, you're bringing up a really good point. With Cliff here is a mixed martial arts guy. You as a wrestler, me as a Marine. These are activities that most normal people don't do. I mean,
I was rugby as well, so add another unique one there.
Okay, I was a rugby, but I was a wing. I never got into the melee in the middle, and actually because I was quick.
I was second row, yeah.
So what we have to understand is the way we're wired. We have to understand right up front that not everybody's wired the same way we are, and in a lot of cases, we actually frighten people without knowing it, non-consciously. And you can pick up the vibes, but it's true because we say things we've done and we do it matter of factly. And Cliff goes, "Yeah, I got hit in the head 4 times, but got up and knocked the guy out." And I go, "Well, you know, getting shot at is not as much fun as you think it is, but what can I say?" And you're talking about, getting as a young kid carrying money, picking up whatever, and get blocked in an alley, and you find, whatever. So what I have learned more than anything is we're human and we're always going to do human stuff. Now, what is unique, and I think the three of us demonstrate it, we all have a different way of achieving it and getting through life. That, in my opinion, particularly on the money side, is the biggest problem. With money, we assume one size fits all. Everybody thinks and acts the same way with money. Behavior is universal, and all I have to do is give you the proper textbook, the proper technical training, and it would be fine. You would have gotten killed as a wrestler. Cliff, you never would have you would have gotten in the ring, but you would have been carried out of the ring, and I wouldn't be here. So I got to give you a metaphor of what I do right now. If Nate, you gave me a call and said, "Ted, you need to teach me how to drive. I could do this I could say, "Great, I've got the technology. We're going to use a little AI. We're going to give you some social media links. We're going to give you a YouTube video. I'm going to send you a tech manual. You need to know about the engineering, oil viscosity, physics, and all that stuff. I'm going to give you an exam. If you get a 70, I'm going to give you a driver's license." Or I can say, "Nate, what's important about driving to you? Why do you want to drive? Who do you want to drive? Where are you going to go? Are you going to be a truck driver or are you going to drive a sports car?" It's a different behavior for both. Now, if I want to understand what your behavior is and what the end game, then I can say, "Okay, let's talk about your dexterity. Let's talk about your vision. your mental acuity, can you read English, those kind of things, then actually coach you through the process based on how you work in a car, not I work in a car. And then I say, okay, you're ready to go. Let's get you your license. You'll be good. Who would you want to drive with? I teach people how to drive with money.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about in here a lot, and it's important for people to understand is there's a lot of books out there, there's a lot of classes out there. Really, everybody's journey is customized.
Absolutely. It should be.
And it should be. And let me rephrase that. Yeah, everybody, in my experience, the ones I've seen, the most successful and sustainable journeys are those that come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I sent Cliff a message last night. He gave me a challenge last week, and it really resonated. And I was following somebody else's blueprint to do some things online and build an online business and a few things like that. And it truly didn't fit. It was counter to my wiring. It was to my natural behavior and how I'd built other successful businesses in the past. So and they were trying to put me in this lockstep, one size fits all approach to do it their way. And it was awful. It's just not wired that way. So I came back and took a hard look, top to bottom, technology, process, things. And I said, listen, this has worked in the past for me. Why can't I bring them together and have a hybrid approach designed for my temperament, my wiring? The outcome is what matters. How we get there is not important as long as it's efficient, effective, legal, and moral. That's what I'm doing now. So I'm doing a top to bottom scrub, and I'm building a one size fits me approach as opposed to one size fits everybody else.
I love that so much that I would actually like to take pause on that, where you say a one size fits me approach.
Yep.
You know, when I look at inputs, outputs, people always are looking at the outputs. Like, I want this. I want this. It's like, no, what inputs are you putting in first before you even play with the outputs? And going into like, well, how come? Because I asked this question, how come no one ever asked the question, what do I want? What do I want?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we've been sitting in, we sit in a classroom and get poured into.
Yeah.
And we don't even ask if we wanted to be poured into. It's just, well, that's the way it is. That's what we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think on the show last week, I said this, I said, we spend most of our life trying to figure out how to climb the ladder. And once we get to the top, not only are you on the wrong ladder, but the wrong wall. And that is a classic, how many of you, do either of you know anybody that spent a lot of time and money getting education and technical training or not working in the field they thought they'd be in? Almost everybody.
Almost my entire client list is that. In the beverage world, it's all ex-guys and girls that got burned out in corporate and then went into beverage to run their own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
I would say 90% of my clients is that.
Yeah. I think the worst myth of the last probably 30 years, maybe a post World War II generation, was you got to go to college. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got to get good at something you're good at that you love, and you can actually make a living. Now, you might be good at making buggy whips, great, but I don't know if you're going to feed your family. So you got to find some way around that little deal. But the point being is, over time, you're going to find that you've got natural talents. The goal is, and I think the goal of a leader is help people understand and identify those natural talents and then help them develop them, exploit them, and use them with focus to get what's important to them. Not this cookie cutter approach. Now, a lot of people think, I spent 21 years in the Marine Corps. I was a school commander. I was a commander and all that good stuff. Everybody assumes the Marines are this lock, skip, step organization. Yes and no. We have standards. We hold you absolutely to that standard. We make you a Marine, then we teach you how to think and behave. And everything from that point on is task organized. I don't care who you are, how you got here, but we're going to get the job done, and we're going to do it correctly, but we're going to do it with our people, with the right behavior, with the right mix for the right reason. And the best analogy I can have, there's a video or a documentary about Marines on Netflix, I think it is, and they're following the MEU through the exercises. And my daughter gave me a call after looking at it, and she said, "Dad, for the first time, I understand what you're saying." And what I used to say all the time, there are Marines that I wouldn't trust with my dog, my daughter, my checkbook, my car, or my house, but I go to war with. That is a fundamental difference, and that's the essence of what it means to be a Marine. I don't have to like you, but I need to respect you. I need to know the loyalty is there, and we're going to move in a direction to get that job done. In the process, it's all about mission. You always take care of your troops first, and leaders eat last.
There's I'm watching as like I said, it was one of those things where Coach Tevin was really pushing me to join the Naval Academy, wanted to do the sponsorships and all this stuff. But I graduated high school in 2003, and we just launched in Iraq and everything like that, and it was too scary. And I always do look back at it as a regretful moment in my life because I didn't have the courage. Now and then what I ended up doing, it didn't work either way because then I went to college and I went to the boarding school, I went to the college, and then I graduated in 2008 and the economy crashes. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck am I doing? Where I'm like spending all this money, I'm doing all the achievements, I'm checking all the boxes, but the world is just saying, no, 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 not right now. And I'm like, no, yes, that's what you told me 8 years ago. You told me if I do this, you give me this. And it's so crazy, Ted, that you said this. And one of the passionate things about it is I literally on my LinkedIn newsletter, Free Mind 5, just today published an article at 8 a.m. about this. And I talk about what it was like graduating college with all those expectations and promises that were never committed at 2008 when the market crashed. And I talked about what it is similar today. We just saw the jobs numbers yesterday. That was the largest job loss in January since the crash back then. And and that was my reflection point of the article was the correlation that same kids today are graduating. They spent 6, 7, 8 years of their lives drilling in for that GPA to get into that college.
Yep.
They did all the work in college, and now what do they have for it?
Yeah, bottom line is they lied to you. I was on a Marine post. We're on a little thread this morning, and people give these long dissertations and all this stuff. And I said, here's the deal. You've got to learn how to embrace the suck and carry on.
That's it.
And
So the lessons I learned from it is that's what it was about. In that moment, what did I do in 2008? I started the business I still run today.
Absolutely.
Because there was no jobs, and I said I'm going to find my own thing, and I started my LLC in 2008.
Yeah, absolutely. and I think, well, basically our common backgrounds, particularly in athletics, I think athletics are a tremendous filter. And people who get upset, this, that, and the other thing, it teaches you so many things about life. And I don't care if you never get into the game, but you go to practice every day and you do what needs to be done. And as a wrestler, you had somebody you probably beat up daily. Okay. And never
Clifford had one probably, and we got beat up too.
Oh, yeah. Or Cliff, your sparring partner who's never going to do what you do, but just likes getting hit in the face. I mean, it's the whole thing. And you learn so much about people. You learn about yourself. And that's what I mean. You've got to be in the game 24/7. And it's never going to go the way you think it is. I mean, we have another saying, as soon as you're engaged, the order is gone. It's you can plan and plan and plan. I mean, as a military officer, your job is a planner. You plan for everything. But you realize as soon as something happens, as soon as the hatch goes down and you're engaged, it's a whole new ball game. And it's based on the people on your right, the people on your left, your muscle memory, your training, your loyalty, your commitment to the mission that will get you through. And that's what I think separates successful people for people that just kind of meander through life. And as you probably tell, I don't tolerate victimhood real well. Okay. I understand your circumstances, but I don't have to tolerate it. Okay. Whiners are not my friends. That's what I'm saying. Okay, great. Yeah, your house burnt down, your dog died, and they repossessed your car. What next?
Yep.
Okay, great. That's real. What are you going to do? How are you going to regroup? Everything you trained for in college went away. Not your fault. So what? What are you going to do? Point fingers at people? It doesn't happen. So it doesn't help anything. I think the difference between leaders and people that are moving forward is they're constantly moving forward and they're leading themselves. If you lead themselves with commitment and focus, moving towards the mission, which is fit for you, it's amazing. People follow you.
Yep. Yep. And I want to ask you, Ted, too, because one, I personally know Ted, and Nate, I know you like just getting introduced to people for the first time. I think you're crazy, but that's what I love about you. Ted does such a great job of laying a foundational layer for people so that they can actually stand on something. Because we want to be able to stand on something. And one of the craziest things that I've learned is usually we realize how important it is to stand when we're not able to stand. We're in unwobbly ground. It's like, oh, what did I do? So I want to ask you, Ted, a person getting started with money literacy,
Yeah.
how would a person check where their money literacy even is to start with?
Yeah, good point. And in between the eyes plug, that's why I wrote this last book. I was trained traditionally in finance, economics, and stuff like that. The foundation of traditional Western finance and economics is the rational man concept. Okay, we're not rational in anything else in our lives. Why do we think we're rational all of a sudden that you go into Costco? It's not going to happen. For some reason, and I think it was the post-World War II generation where we got into new technologies and systems and processes that we kind of filtered out the humanism. And even Adam Smith disagreed with that. In Moral Sentiments, he talked about behavior, and it got lost over a couple hundred years. So the first thing, and this is what the last book about. My current book is not a book about money; it's about money behavior. I've written books about money and technical stuff, and I've read too many of them, and they all have the common thing, save, invest, blah, 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 blah. It's generic. Okay. I get it. But that's technique and tools and technology. If it doesn't fit you, you're not going to do it. And that's the largest point. The first thing you have to do is sit down, and I laid this whole process out in the book. You have to understand there are three things that conspire against you on a daily basis when you try to spend money. First is your biology. Our brains are designed to keep us alive and pass on our genes and chase opportunity and feel comfortable and safe. Not do taxes, not to make change, and not to read the small print on your contracts. And that ancient brain is not really caught up with the modern economy. Number two, it's our belief set. Our belief sets are formulated early in life by our family unit. Then our peer group. Our peer group is an incredible driver. And by middle school, you pretty much understand your relationship with money and how you want to spend. And then the biggest driver is culture. We buy stuff that is culturally driven because, well, some promoter in Korea decided to put together a male boys rock band that don't speak English and sell millions of dollars of stuff to young girls in the United States. They can't understand them, don't know what it is, but they know they need it. Okay. What can I say? Then the last piece is technology. Technology is a game changer. You can spend, invest, and do things with money quicker now and make stupid, ridiculous decisions quicker on your watch. My grandfather grew up with carbon paper. Most of your audience doesn't know what carbon paper is. My dad grew up with pressure sensitive forms, And I live in a digital world. I don't carry money. Everything is digital. Typically, our brains are wired such that we look at or internalize digital money differently than hard currency. Here's the example. Have you ever had a $100 bill in your wallet and you can carry it for months? But as soon as you take that sucker out and break it, how long does it last? Minutes.
I've been talking about this for a while. I don't talk about it on the show, so I really appreciate you bringing this up. I talk about it on the other show from a sensory standpoint with brand loyalty. The system that has existed that indoctrinated us to schooling and indoctrinated us to work and indoctrinated us to process and ritual and procedure is the same that's desensitizing those rewards. We no longer we don't have the physical touch. And so one of the big things we drive in the beverage side, and actually one of these brands, I'll mention them on here, Good Mellow. I just received their samples the other day. The label is not a traditional label. It has texture to it. It has different designs to it. That is where we need to go, because that is how we build memory, and core memory is we have to have a complete sensory experience with objects. And we're getting deliverable, tangible objects. I'm actually getting ready to start a magazine for our industry for the same reason, is because it needs to be high quality. It needs to have a different censorship to it, because that's how core memories are built and then loyalty begins.
Yeah, and you've just hit on a really important problem with money. The marketing side understands this. Neuromarketing is the forefront with AI and a few things, and they understand that it's multisensory, multimodalities. It's tactile, auditory, visual, sense. It all comes together. Then you put that together in a group and the loyalty factor and the commonality. That is the reality, and the marketers understand that. But that's also why when you went to buy a new car, you started building it online and you could smell it and taste it, and the dopamine is running through your body and you're already driving that thing. So you go down and lick the car at the dealership, it's already yours. But when they move you from there to the contract signing, you've got to move from that very emotional feeling brain, as I call it, to your thinking brain, the frontal cortex. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a $10,000 or $20,000 upgrade, probably a navigation system you don't need because you got it in your phone and you don't even know what happened. And the irony is you're going to drive that car like at 20 miles an hour through your neighborhood to make sure everybody knows you have a new car. You're going to wash it every weekend for about a month. Then you're going to take it to the the drive-through washer. And as soon as it gets a little dirty and you got some junk in the back, the dopamine's gone, the thrill is gone, the smell is gone. You're already moving on to the next hit of dopamine. So we'll go back to Cliff's question about getting ready for money. This is all prep for money. You notice I'm talking about behavior and human experience. I'm not talking about you need a spreadsheet. You need to do a cost benefit analysis, and you need to determine really what the return of your investment is on that automobile versus the opportunity cost of using that money in something. And we recommend a nice portfolio split of a 20, 30, 40 bucks. That's
I want to say something real quick too, because I'm disciplined, and I'm disciplined because martial arts has proven it. It's been proven. My mind literally checked out with what you were saying, and I'm willing to do what I need to do. I'm willing to do what I need to do, but I've also learned, wait a minute, everyone's not me.
Right. And this is what the book is about. Part 2 of the book is, I call it the money behavior system. And it's a system I started using with clients because I was watching them not be successful with the stuff we were giving them. The conventional knowledge just does not work. Again, I teach people to drive with money, not build a bank. So it starts out with the value discussion. What are your money values? And ironically, we do this almost in everything else of our life except for money. And it's a simple question: what is important about money to you? And you keep working through that till you get your highest value. And then you come back and go, am I moving in that direction? Because values drive beliefs, beliefs drive behavior. Value is the basics. What I ask is, and for most people, it's much higher ideals. It's not stuff. But the financial industry is oriented towards goals, which to get you stuff. You can have stuff that has no relationship to your values. Okay. So if you tell me you want a very comfortable retirement so you can give back to the community, but you're eating out every night and you've got a ticket of about $1,500 a month doing that, I can help you do one of two things. I can help you eat out every night, or I can help you have a comfortable retirement. I can't help you do both. So first thing is you need to do is sit down and be very honest, look at a bank statement, look at your calendar, and ask yourself, is my spending behavior and my time behavior aligned with my values? If not, something's got to change, either how you're spending and using your time or your values. You probably are not going to have both. In most cases, and the biggest problem I found at the basis is that alignment is not there. Okay. And we do that in sports too. Okay. You say you want to be a champion fighter, but when I look at you, you're doing all this other stuff. Okay. Which is, do you want this other stuff or do you want to come to practice every day? Once you do that, then you have to benchmark and really truly discover who you are with money. And this is important. We spend and accept coaching in every other aspect of our life, and we accept behavior is the dominant driver except for money. That's nuts. I mean, if you're not an attention, if you're not an intention-driven, focused person, almost borderline OCD in one area, what makes you think you're all of a sudden going to change and do something with? But no, your dominant natural behavior is also the behavior you're going to express with money. So I don't care if you're a spender or saver. That's not the point. That's your wiring. But you need to know, if you're a spender, you can have the same value, but you need a one size fits all spender oriented program to keep you in line to get you what you want. And you can be just as dysfunctional as a saver. You can be cheap. You got to feed your kids, okay, at least a couple times a day. That's the law. So you should do that. But if you're that kind of cheap, just because I bring you in and said you should be empathetic and you should have Vivian and you should give money to the blah, 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 if you're not wired to do that, you're not going to do it. So we spend a lot of time helping you understand your natural money temperament. And we look at 5 things, and I actually have some I talk about in the book to give you a very quick way to go through it. But then we have some very, very sophisticated scientific tools that get you really into it. Once you understand that, then how do you process information? Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, tactile learner? Do you like to get in and do it yourself? Because in a consequential financial decision point, buying a house, car, college, something big that's going to have significant consequences over time, you have to ensure you get the information in a way you can assimilate it and use it most efficiently and effectively. If you're a visual person, ask for pictures and graphs. If you're a tactile person, go through the spreadsheet with them. If you're an auditory person, make sure you can regurgitate what they just told you and it makes sense to you. Unfortunately, in the financial industry, it's run by all basically the same people, wired the same, and they're digital, they're numbers oriented, and they love that stuff. Unfortunately, a significant part of the population doesn't. Now, Nate, you figured this out in advertising and marketing. You give everything mixed modal. That can you just talked about it is a brilliant device because it's mixed modal. Well, when you go in to see the guy at the finance department, he lives and breathes spreadsheets. He looks at numbers. And his solution to the most problem is, I'll just run the numbers again. I'll just put in another thing with the algorithm, but we'll get you there. Can you give me another $50 a month and we can make this happen? Okay. So that is a fundamental disconnect. You can go through all the right stuff, but also remember that your body is wired when it's hopped up on dopamine and emotionally driven. It is processing information very different than when you go to your right brain. Your right brain or your thinking brain takes a lot more energy, makes you a lot more uncomfortable. Your happy place is your default, and that's your normal thinking. When you went to the ring, Cliff, you had a process to get you wired and ready to go. That might not have been your normal state, but you knew you had to be in that state to be effective. You got to do the same thing when it's important spending. If you're running into the gas station to get a cup of coffee or a Slurpee or something like that, that's one thing. However, when you're buying something large, investing, housing, a college education that is going to impact you the rest of your life, you've got to take the time and benchmark who you are, what you're doing, what are your values, how do you naturally work with money? And I don't care what it is, but you need to know. And then how are you going to ensure that the information you get, it works for you, one size fits you. Then you build your strategy, which is based on your values, behavioral based, deliver in a way you can understand it. Then you go out and get the stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a pain that people feel where they're like, man, I need to get some help? Like, enough is enough.
Yeah, the trigger is usually, in my opinion, when they're trying to do something that's counter to their natural wiring, their natural temperament. I mean, that's what I just had the story that I just redid my entire business because I was trying to fit it into somebody else's box. That's the trigger. Normally, it's an emotional discomfort. It's friction, and it can be positive that I need to really take a look and this is not working, or it can be destructive. This is going on and on and on, and it's chewing me up inside, and it just isn't working. And Nate, I'm sure that's how you got into the profession you're in right now. You just looked around and said, something's broken. We got to do something. So
that's all I work in is the Delta.
Yeah. So you've got to be aware of the triggers, but but it's an internalized personal trigger. Where it gets into trouble was when it's confirmation bias, where it's the crowd voting for you. And that's where social media can be a problem. There's a generation of people out there that every major decision is made by committee with people just like them on the internet. That's confirmation bias. And then they wonder why it doesn't work.
Some call it circular journalism. I call it group psychosis. I mean, potato, you know?
Yeah. And the irony is you may be part of that peer group for a lot of other reasons, and it's really not a real good fit, and it's not you, it's masks. So you get into this death spiral that you're unhappy, you go get help. You follow the help, you get more unhappy. You come back, you get more help, and you get it more unhappy. And then something really is heading in the wrong direction. It comes back to what's important about fill in the blank to you. What's important about driving to you? What's important about a car to you? What's important about a house to you? And I guarantee that the importance of a house is greater than a place to live. It's probably being safe in a good location. Why that? Because I want my kids to go to a good school. Why do you want your kids to go to a good school? I want them to have more than I have. Why is that? I don't want them back in my house living in my basement when they're 20. Okay, that's okay. That's honest. That's a reasonable, important. That's value.
Yep.
But society says you can't say that. Society says that's not right. The key for everything we're talking about here is having a very good, honest inventory of who you are with yourself and be brutally honest. You know, if I am never going to get in the NBA, ever, I don't even know if they'll give me a ticket. Okay. It's just not going to happen. And you've got to accept that. You've got to accept the fact that the economy is terrible and everything you worked on for the last 4 years is not going to happen. You have to take responsibility for yourself, inventory who you are, understand what you're good at, not only what you're good at, but you have a passion for, and go do it. You're going to be much more successful doing that than following somebody else's roadmap that everybody says, some talking head guru, somebody who spent $500 on a program that's trying to make them just like them. You have to make a very, very important assessment. It's nothing wrong with getting help. There's nothing, but you got to make sure there's some kind of alignment. There's a very famous financial guru who lives about 20 miles from me, about 10, who's got a huge following. He's got a radio program and he does all this early kind of goes, and he's highly successful. But what he doesn't tell you, only about 20% of the people that go to his program and sign up for it are actually wired for his program. And if you're wired for his program and you want to be just like that person and do just like he does, yeah, it's probably going to work for you. But how about the other 70-80% that it's not a good fit? You've got to have something else that works for you. And that's a lifelong journey, in my opinion.
It is. I want to be conscious of the time, and I also want to say that we're definitely going to have you back because there's a million topics that are in my head I want to talk to you about. But I want to close or kind of wrap you out with this one last topic. Is, you talk about execution and you talk about resilience and cadences and persistence and routine. I want to talk a little bit about so much in the digital realm, what we're seeing right now across the board. And I'm seeing it in my own network as well as others, is these CEOs and founders that with the rise of AI believe that they can create these massive structures and strategies and infrastructure, but are lacking the execution underneath of it. So it's really just a vapid technology that if you can create the greatest things with ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, but if you don't know how to use them,
yeah,
like they're just words on a screen.
Boy, that is a huge point. And I'm in a group, we're talking AI and morals and all that kind of stuff, and ethics as we're moving forward. To put it in perspective, I talked about Wealth of Nation, Adam Smith. He wrote that book in 1776 with a quill pen. It is a human endeavor. I could go to Chat AI and probably do something very simpler in 15 minutes. What you have is a document. The question is, what are you going to do with it? The challenge with our brains is it's the white coat syndrome. We tend to assume that a person in a white coat with a clipboard, wearing a tie, with credentials on his name tag has it right. Maybe. The missing piece and the danger of AI, in my opinion, is trying to isolate the human factor and ignore the humanity.
And go back to the desensitization of the century experience in life.
Absolutely. AI is still a binary process. It's just quicker and it has more data to work with, but it's a binary process. It's not, if you notice that all the AI now has a disclaimer on the bottom, the answer may be incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a human instrument, has human fallacies and foibles. It's interpreted and used by people. So what it allows us to do is get more. And here's the other thing. Information is not knowledge. That is huge. You have to understand that. It's a starting point. I use AI daily. It makes simple tasks easier. It's great at checking my math and my grammar and stuff that now is not important. People go, you can't spell. I don't have to. Okay. And I understand the capability. What AI does is give me to be more powerful as a human if I understand it and use it correctly. It gives me options and choices I probably didn't have, and a window to information and data I didn't even know exist. But if I'm not careful, I'm crawling down this rabbit hole with infinite numbers of binary choices, and I will never get to the point where I'm executing.
And it's all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cliff.
Well, there's one thing that kind of scares me, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I think there's gonna be an individual who has autism who's gonna build a business, and it's gonna thrive.
Huh?
And it's gonna thrive because he knows what people think they want. And I go, wow, like, and I'm in this too. I'm not saying like, well, I know what I want. We think we want what we want until we get into it and we start reading and going, oh crap. And so I go, wow, either life's working for us or we're working for life.
Yep. Yep. Well, you hit the major problem is biologically, we're still worrying about how to cross the savannah to get water and not be eaten by the tiger on the other side. Like we are most comfortable in small groups, tribes. Anything above probably 100 folks becomes unmanageable. And our focus is keeping those around us in a position that we can self-protect and move towards common values for preservation. And then perpetuate the species. That's our default option. And it's just gotten incredibly complex.
It's one of those things that, you know, we like to talk about survival mode is like the caves and this and that. And that stays in our blood, and the body keeps even all of that, you know, the DNA, changing your DNA and hereditary and all these things and what we pass down. We never talk about, and I'm a little tinfoil hat about this. As a society, we're structured never to talk about what positive things and strength skills that also do the same thing.
Yep.
So it's like we pretend that only trauma is carried generationally, and it's like, well, if we spent more time, which I'm recently in the past couple of years in doing that, was being like, okay, what is instinctually in me as well? Because I'm carrying all this bullshit. I'm carrying alcoholism, I'm carrying addiction, I'm carrying autism, anxiety, ADHD.
Yep.
What are the positives? You know?
And there's a whole field of science on epigenetics and stuff like that actually in our DNA, our circumstances do influence the DNA and ultimately our behavior without changing the DNA. That's epigenetic. And there are all kinds of studies on that. The generation that was starving after World War II tend to be much more aligned with diet and the, you know, they measure the weight and all, but it's a factor of what their circumstances were and how their body adjusted. So we are part of our legacy. Our legacy is our past generations. We can't fix that. The challenge is to understand that it's happening and then take positive steps to make sure we're moving where we want to go. Because you can also reset. So if your parents and grandparents were really thin because of World War II, you have the capability of putting on an extra 100 pounds. Just change your behavior.
It's I can tell you, I give every couple episodes I have to publicly give Clifford credit. Is he's one of those individuals that I met him as a stranger and completely pivoted my mindset on that. And the one thing I'll close out with as we kind of do our closing remarks here is, you know, what you talked about, everything you talked about, whether you're looking for clients, you're looking for business, you're looking for that. We spend our whole lives being professional Nate and personal Nate and never allowing them to bleed. Most times I was unsuccessful, or I capped myself in my growth, or I slid back in my evolution of where I want to be a better man and a better business owner, was because I chased the external rather than being myself. So bleeding those two different sides, letting it all be me, and then saying to the middle finger to everybody else, not in a confrontational way, but it's like, if you don't like what I'm putting out, don't worry. There's maybe yeah, exactly.
This is not as threatening.
Exactly. So the first 9 to 10 people in line are going to tell me I'm wrong and I'm crazy, but I bet you the 12th and 13th are my people. And once I filter through the first 10 and 9, I'll get to my people. And I think that's the hardest thing, because we are on survival. I've been broke multiple times and literally not just broke and had a savings account, like lost things and everything like that. My point in saying that is that when you put out the positive, and not just the positive, the authentic self, and you don't hide behind it, and you don't try to appease and be a chameleon and put that mask on, you naturally will bring those people. And my life completely changed when I started doing that. Now, it is hard because we are naturally survival mode people. We're always looking for that lion and that tiger. So when those times are dark and you're waiting for the 9th, 10th, and 12th person in line, and your money's coming, and the rent's coming, and the mortgage is due, and the kids got to go to school, and they got to go to college, or they got to get a job, they need a car. Those things force you to then go into the outside world and then go back and be like, well, the mask worked before, I'm going back to the mask. And it's that crucial constraining compression period that I bailed out in so many times, but it wasn't until I finally dug in, found out who could support me through that time and say, I'm going to do this, but I need your help, whether it's emotionally, whether I need a loan every once in a while. And I did it. And when I did it and came out on the other side, the abundance that came in allowed me to pay back those loans and then begin to rebuild my life. So I want people to know this isn't a book. This isn't like, yes, you are talking about a book, but these are real lived experiences. Like, it's real shit. Like, it's a real reality. It's not what we're seeing today where it's like, see this, I'm putting it in front of you and I'm going to tell you something different. No, it's real. And that's the reason is they're all lying to you. Everyone else is lying to you.
Yeah. You got to go out there and fail with intention.
Yes.
And
I call them life's tuition. All those losses I call it life's tuition.
Yeah. And then you got to move on. Also realize that I would submit the three of us are probably wired more alike than different. And I would dare say that there's some people that are probably going to watch this thing and we are scaring the crap out of them. And they're going, I'm glad those people are by themselves and not together, because who knows what's going to happen. However, you also understand there's a place for people like us. That's how somebody decided there were not monsters on the other side of the Atlantic when they got on this 120-foot boat and said, let's go find out. Okay, there's a place for that. I don't pretend that everybody should be like me, because I know you can't. It's never gonna happen. However, we can learn from each other. We can understand where our proper role is. I think I would call us Pathfinders. Okay, my entire career, I have been a Pathfinder. I've been a fixer, going and fixing, but I am a terrible maintainer. Okay, once I've fixed it, about 6 months after that's over with, I am bored. And I'm looking for the next shot of adrenaline and dopamine to go fix something else. So if you leave me there, I'm going to just keep refixing it, what's going to drive everybody nuts. So move me forward. I understand it. I had insisted with me for over 20 years. Her job was one job: keep me out of jail, keep me on point. She was wired 180 out for me, and it worked magnificently.
Ted, that's the job description I just put on LinkedIn yesterday. I'm looking for one of those right now. That's all it says. There's 2 sentences.
Because I mean, I would, go out and run. When I would go out and run or ride my bike, I'm fixing the world. I wrote a book on my bike, because you're out there for 100 miles, nothing else to do. You might as well do something kind of productive. But the reason is I know myself. I know my capabilities and limitations. I will push, and I push very well, and I'm good in the area I'm good. But don't put me in the area I'm not, and expect the same outcome. And I have an obligation to let you know that up front.
Perfect. Well, hey, I'm serious. We're gonna have some other conversations and have some more episodes. Ted, thank you so much on that. And Clifford, I'm gonna let you close out this one. I'll do my little spiel, but you get the last word this week, because I realized last time I did that.
Well, I will say, so Ted has a book, and Ted, if you want to share your book, the link to the book, because his book's not just a book; it's lessons and wisdom on how to properly move forward in your life. Money, so important to get that game, because once you got that game, every other game becomes that much easier.
Thank you. Yeah, if anything I said here kind of tripped your trigger a little bit, I think Cliff said it once. This is a book about life. I just talk about money because money's the piece that most people don't talk about. They keep it separate. Just go to my website, tedmclyman.com. I've got some tools there. You're going to learn more about me. There's a link to the book. It's available on Amazon in both a digital and paperback. It's only 120 pages. I call it an airplane book. It's written like a blog. It's written for people that hate books about money, but you need to read one, and you should. But it's a Cliff hit on the head. If you use the mantra, what's important about fill in the blank, that book will solve a lot of your problems.
I'll close this out and remind everybody that, Ted, I want to publicly thank you. This is there's no script, there's no agenda, and there's no questions. We didn't go out to dinner, we didn't go out to breakfast, and that is a courageous act. And all of the words that you put out are validated because you took the first courageous act by coming on. And Clifford and I both have experienced where, we reach out to people, and because there's no script, there's no questions, they don't come on. And we have a rule of thumb, and that weeds out the assholes. And it weeds out the people that want to come on the show and talk their shit and plug their stuff and just be vapid, worthless individuals that have no substance for our audience. And I want to say you're the opposite of that. And I want to also say, and I want to remind everybody, and you're getting used to it now because I'm going to drill this home every 2 times a week in every episode we do on both shows. When you're out in public, look strangers in the eye, put your phone in your pocket, look a stranger in the eye, smile at somebody. You never know what the hell's going on in their life. Hold a door for a stranger, male, female, German Shepherd, we don't care. The fact is, don't be a piece of shit out there. Ask somebody how they're doing when you're getting coffee at the gas station, and pause, shut your mouth, and actually want to listen to what they say and care for them. Because today there is way too much going on, and I think that people need to realize and watch this show and watch. In 60 minutes, you can make friends, you can laugh, and we had no questions about the ideologies of our lives. We immediately got to the common core of where we are connected and where we are the same. And thank you, Ted, for that. And thank you for showing our audience how to make friends in a very short amount of time. And it's not as many of the complicated things we talked about today that involve resilience and long-term plans. The easiest thing you can do is put positive stuff out there and connect with your community.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. This is great. It will be a privilege to come back. I think we can probably fix the Middle East by the time we're done.
Amen.
2 or 3 shows. And we ought to give it a try. And if anything here piques your interest, take a look at the book. If it's not for you, share it, because I know somebody is dealing with these issues. And this is just my little approach based on a number of years of collected bullshit that I put together and laid it out in an outline. And honestly, people are going, hey, this is pretty damn good.
Excellent, Ted. Well, hey, thank you so much, Clifford. Thank you so much. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. And Ted, we'll be in touch with next steps and releasing and all that stuff.
Perfect.
Have a great one,
Thank
champ.
you.
Take care.
All right. Take care, guys.